Here I'm showing you how to train your dog to go to a mat on a verbal cue alone. Please see the caption on why this is handy. So to start with, you're going to take your bed or your mat. I use any surface that I am sending my dog to. So if it's a cushion, a sofa, a jacket, a dog bed, a dog crate, I call them all mats. Then you're going to place that mat between you and your dog, like you can see in the footage. You're going to throw a treat opposite you. So you're just going to throw a treat ahead of you whilst your dog goes and eats that. You're then going to make sure you stand upright and your dog is going to come and likely sit in front of you, and their bum should hit the mat because they're used to doing that. We train dogs to come and sit in front of us quite a lot. Once your dog is getting that, so you're throwing the treat, they're coming to sit in front of you, you're going to feed 3 treats on the mat. So throw 1 treat away, your dog comes and trots towards you, sits on the mat, or they don't even have to sit on the mat, to be honest. Any interaction with the mat, so even if it's 1 toenail, you can feed that. You're then going to feed 3 times on the mat. Then you're going to roll another treat away. I use a verbal cue like get it to let the dog know that they can get up. Once your dog is happy doing that, so they're running to grab the treat, coming and jumping on the mat, and you're feeding 3 times on the mat, you're going to add your verbal cue. I use go mat. You're going to say that as soon as your dog has eaten the treat that you've thrown, just before they turn around. So they've run out to get that treat, and then you are going to say your cue, and then they're going to just come and sit back in front of you like they would previously. Then you're going to, once your dog has gotten used to the verbal cue and is used to you standing straight facing the mat like you started, you're going to start to change your orientation to the mat. So you're going to start to turn sideways. You're going to start to move away from the mat. This is the process of teaching your dog that doesn't matter where you are in relation to the mat, that they're still to go there, and that's where they will get their snacks. Once you've done a little bit of that, you can then change the location of the mat, as you can see I've just done here with Pums, to be where you want it to be. So this is really, really important if you're going to use a crate or you're teaching a dog to go to a sofa or something like that. If I'm teaching a dog to go to a sofa, often I will train them on a little blanket, and then I'll put that blanket on the sofa where I want them to go. So that position there where the bed is where I want the bed to be long term. Pums has learnt to go to the bed, then I've taught him that the bed moves and he still needs to go there, which he's doing. And now what I'm doing is changing my position. So I know Pumba struggles to do the go mat behaviour when I sit down, for example. So I started standing tall, then I crouched a little bit, then I sat on the grooming table, which is what I'm doing now. And the process is exactly the same. So every time I've said my go mat cue and he's gone to the mat successfully, I'm feeding 3 treats on the mat, then I'm throwing 1 away after I've said get it, to let him know that he can get off the sofa, off the mat. Go mat. And this is just what we're watching here. Clever boy. It is better if you take the time to move in and feed the dog on the mat like I just did, because otherwise you risk the treat bouncing if you throw it. And again, I'm just changing my position, crouching over. Get it? He found this one hard, so bending down, he thinks I'm now training him to do something different. So I helped him out with a hand gesture, but ideally I still want him to be going to the mat on that verbal cue alone without me having to use a hand gesture. Go mat. Yeah, very nice. Nice. And you can see he tried there. It wasn't perfect, but he did touch the bed. And ultimately, if I've sent the dog to their bed, I don't much care if they stay exactly on the bed. As long as they've moved to that location, I will take it. Nice. I'm still helping him with that hand signal, which I will phase out in a minute. Get it? Go mat. And there we go on a verbal cue alone. Very good boy. Really nice. Get it? Go mat. You can see that the lower I get, the more Pumba does tend to struggle. I do tend to train him in like a crouched position or on my knees, so I think he's expecting me to ask him to do a different behaviour. Go on. And I can help with that hand signal again if I need to, but ultimately I want him to be able to, no matter what position I'm in, the verbal cue means go to your bed, no matter what my body looks like or where my body is. And I realised that the desk being in the way made it a little bit harder for him, so I just shuffled myself back so I could see him through the desk.
Go, Matt. Get it? Go, Matt. Lovely.
And here, I'm starting to get ready. I know Pumbaa cannot perform this behaviour if I'm laying down in bed and I want him to go to his bed in our room. So I'm starting to get myself into a laying position.
Get it?
Obviously, if I was going to then teach this on the bed, I would want to start sitting on the bed, then sort of getting down low on the bed, but without laying down, if that makes sense. I don't know how to describe that body posture. And here I am getting a little bit lazy because it's hard for me to get up to this position just to get back into it for the next repetition. So I am throwing the treats, but you can see that this is where it starts to get a bit messy. The treats are bouncing off. But if I was to teach this in my bed for the purposes of Pumbaa going to his bed in our room, this is how I would work through the stages.
Pumbaa, get it. Go, Matt. Super job. Go, Matt.
And you can see he really starts to struggle here. So this is an area I need to do a little bit more work in. He's really, really good in terms of my standing body language. He will happily go wherever I need him to when I'm stood up.
Get it?
Which is really handy. This is such a helpful behaviour for if you are bringing the shopping in, or you've got guests over and they don't want to be jumped on, or if you're carrying a cup of tea or something that you don't want to spill and the dogs are getting under your feet and they're getting in the way. Just being able to say, go, Matt, and have them know that they need to go to a certain location is so, so helpful. I also use this behaviour when travelling a lot because it's a nice way of getting your dogs, especially if they're muddy after a walk or something like that. It's a nice way of stopping them from jumping on furniture in Airbnbs and hotels. And you can see here he really is thinking that I'm going to ask him to perform another behaviour. We've been working a lot on his back up recently, so that's why he's offering the backwards walking.
Go, Matt.
And again, as long as he touches that mat, I will feed him for it because I am making it harder and I want him to be convinced that is the mat he's going to.
Get it.
At this point, the training session had been going on a little while as well. If I wasn't doing this for the purposes of filming, I probably would have stopped the session and tried again after he'd had a sleep.
Go, Matt.
I don't know if you can hear him snoring in the background after this training session.
Get it. Break.
And here I am teaching Pumbaa to release from the mat on my release cue, which is break.
Go, Matt.
So throughout the training so far, I have used his go get the treat cue, which is go get it. And now I'm teaching him that I only want him to leave that spot when he hears the word break. You could use okay, and that was what Pumbaa was originally trained on, but how often does that come up in everyday conversation? And it shot me in the foot a few times as my release cue, so I have since changed my release cues to break.
Break. Ready?
And that's just me making sure he still knows to stay there until I've said break, even if I move. And here I'm doing a bit of really basic impulse control.